I feel like this is the people that are gonna like really kill it with AI are the ones that know what they want to do, but they wouldn't have been able to do it kind of otherwise on their own, right? Like they don't have a background in software development, but they have this idea of what it is that they want, right? Oh, and we just got our funding rate thing back here. Um, so yeah, so this is a really good point. There's kind of two paths that I see with AI. There's you got the idea, but you don't know how to like implement it, right? AI is
Mm.
going to be awesome for that. Now, the other thing I feel like AI is really good for as well is like I kind of have an idea or I want some ideas. Um, and then you use AI to first kind of help you try to refine what it is that you want to do, right? Like, so you could tell AI, hey, I want to trade these markets, right? Like, let's say, okay, Paradex just implemented new spot markets and they got perp markets, the perp futures. You could tell AI, hey, what types of trading strategies could I do that might make money utilizing these two markets? And then it might list like 5 or 10 things that you might be able to do with those two
Ah,
markets. Then you can dive into those a little more and say, okay, let's explore this. What would a strategy doing, what would a strategy look like doing where you buy the spot and you sell the futures contract and try to collect the funding rate the funding rate on the futures contract. And then it would refine that strategy a little more. So you could take like you could have AI kind of help you come up with the initial ideas, and then the
mm.
ones that you think you might kind of vibe with, your personality and what your trading style might be. You could start diving into those further and start refining them. And then once you have something that's kind of like a little more defined, then you could have AI actually help implement an actual like skill or help you write code to actually trade that in real life. So,
Gotcha.
so we got our oh, this is cool. This mouse over
Oh,
thing wasn't wasn't happening before. But so basically it went out to Paradex. It got a list of every asset that's currently available for the perp futures. And then it sorted it by funding rate and it's also telling us how much volume has been traded. So like it's kind
mm.
of crazy. Is this right? Hyper has only had $17 in volume for the last 24 hours. So the other cool thing that it did for me, and I didn't tell it to do this, is it created a way to order the heat map by some other things. So this is a absolute rate. So we have a negative funding rate, like for this one here. Um,
Ah,
Alphabetical, and then by volume. So if you wanted to trade just like the most liquid assets on Paradex, you could figure out the top what is it, 12 or 14 here in these top two rows and what the funding rate
got
might be
it.
for those. So and setting this up, this probably took me, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 minutes to kind of go back and forth a bit with Claude to refine how it looked and worked. And then once I kind of had it set up, I said, okay, create a skill for this. And so I don't have to keep telling you every time what I want you to do. Right. So this is kind of an example of like, I had an idea of what it is I wanted. And then I was using AI to actually help me build it. Right.
Okay, as a software engineer, if you were to build this on your own, like how long would that take?
Oh my gosh. This is the crazy thing about AI. Like I am probably doing the work of like 5 software developers, you know, like literally like all the different apps that I'm working on right now. I got Claude Code or Codex going in all these different windows, tell it what to do. It's working on it. I see what it produces. I tell it, okay, make these changes to it, then go on to the next screen, have it doing this thing. So like actually writing something like this would have easily, easily been like 1 to 2 like full days worth of work if I was like starting from scratch and writing it by hand, right? Because you got
Damn.
one layer is just getting the interaction with the exchange, the layer that's actually pulling the data out. which is in itself not trivial. And then the other part that's really difficult, at least for me especially, is developing like the user interface and making it look nice, you know. And that's done. It's using like HTML and CSS behind the scenes to do that. And that's actually what Claude is doing behind the scenes. It's writing Python and writing HTML and JavaScript and CSS. You know, it's not actually just like in his
Yeah.
head and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna like throw a little block out there that has like BTC in it." It's actually
Gotcha.
writing code in the console here while it's working, and that's how it's like fetching and presenting the data.
I got a few questions. So it feels like there's a lot lower chance that Claude or AI in general, when using MCP, like it's a lower chance that it would hallucinate data because it's pulling from an external source. It's not trying to process like random information on the internet, for example. Is that
Right.
accurate to say?
Yeah.
Like it's more accurate.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Although I have read stories about like, you know, the CFO was basing its decision on data that the AI was feeding it, and then I was kind of wondering, well, where was the AI pulling its data from? Like, how did it hallucinate
Yeah.
data? So I don't know. You can never be 100% sure, but in theory, if it's pulling it directly from the API, you know, and then just using that. Now we're not having the AI. Like make any decisions based off of this data, right? It's just basically displaying it in
Mm,
this case. So the chances that this data is getting made up or hallucinated somewhere in that pipeline is very, very, very
mm,
minimal. And
understand.
if you were really paranoid about that, you know, you could have tell Claude like, hey, make a log file and log the API calls that you're making, right? So you could actually go and verify that. Okay, let me look at the logs. Let me go look at the Paradex UI and just make sure that there's a sanity check here. You know,
The other thing I want to ask is, so I had no idea that it was building this using HTML and CSS. So that's why it's interactive and you have the mouse overs.
Mhm.
Have you tried clicking? Do they bring you to the
I, I
markets in
I have like I didn't ask for this either. And
uh
it's weird that you asked me about this. I didn't ask for ask for it to do this, and I was just playing around. And I actually clicked on one of these.
right.
Last time I did this, we'll see if it does it again. But it did
Okay,
a kind of a
okay.
deep, it kind of a, did a deep dive into that asset. So let's
Oh,
see.
that makes sense as well.
Yeah, so let's see what happens here. Okay, so
Oh, I think it's doing a deep dive.
yeah, so it's doing a deep dive. So I
Okay,
clicked
okay,
on it.
okay, okay.
So I was like, okay, that's pretty clever that it came up with that because that's like that's kind of a legitimate use for like a mouse click on a tile, right? So now
Yeah,
it's basically using the MCP again, going out and getting more information about this asset. So it's pulling not only the funding data, but it's getting information from the order book. The Klein's
man,
call here is basically the historical data chart that's pulling. So it's going to probably run for a minute or two while it
got
pulls this
it.
data from the server. So I was like,
And just
that's pretty cool.
yeah. And just so people are aware, the heat map that you created with Claude, that is a snapshot, right? Like it's not technically live data,
Correct.
but
Correct.
you can
Yes.
ask more questions. And because it already has compiled all the information, you can ask it all kinds of questions, I guess, to make a trading decision.
Right. So, like for example, now Claude is smart enough too, where if an exchange doesn't have an MCP, it will look up to see how to use its API. Right. So if you wanted to do a funding rate arbitrage and say you already had Paradex hooked up here with the MCP and the funding rate, you could say, okay, I want you to like take a look at some other exchange and pull its funding rate down for the same asset and show me the ones that have the biggest difference in API, the APY, and so you can make a trading decision, you know, based on that. So this is pretty cool. It created this chart. It showed that this is the price chart. It's showing the funding rate, annualized. We got the snapshot of the order book at that time. And then it's making some observations about what it's seeing here. So you could kind of if you wanted to, you could kind of try to package this stuff up and if you have some sort of theory about either funding rates and price direction or order book and price direction, you could have AI kind of help you create or figure out how to quantify this theory that you have to say, okay, well, let's go long when the funding rate is, you know, going up, you know, at this rate, because that means, or that means other traders are piling in, right? So let's make this like a kind of a momentum trade, right? We'll try to catch onto the trend that everybody else is, or you could try to fade the trend, and we can talk a little bit more about that too, where it's like, okay, if the funding rate's increasing, that means like a lot of people are going long. Let's fade that. We'll go short. We'll try to catch a price reversal while we'll also get to collect that funding rate. Because the longs are going to be paying the shorts in that
Mm.
scenario. So
This almost feels like a perfect segue for like the next thing that you're gonna share with us, but I'll let you like finish up your thoughts first, man.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of finishing up like some of the things that you can do with the MCP and Claude. We haven't shown really anything automated yet at this point, right? But it's a great place to have AI help you do research about the research and test out theories that you might have. So this is also
Mm.
great too if you see somebody posting something on X, like you could use this and AI and the MCP and all the data that Paradex has to see if you can kind of validate what that person is claiming.
That's a
So
good point, Rob. Sorry, before we move on, can we give the audience and whoever's listening in later with our clips like homework? Let's give people homework. Could you maybe share like something that people can track, like a strategy that they can try? So when they start implementing like MCP, they immediately have something that they can, test it out with. Maybe
yeah.
not funding arbitrage. That's really like high level stuff. Something that maybe the everyday retail trader might be interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, some strategies that are pretty basic, and I saw this kind of touted on YouTube, is like a moving average crossover. So, a moving average is like you're taking the average price over the last,
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes or sometimes 15 days, like depending on like if you're trading based on the daily charts or on the intraday charts. But let's say you're trading on the daily charts and somebody's like, oh, this moving average crossover strategy. So if you trade it when like the 50-day moving average crosses over the 200-day moving average, the strategy just kills it, right? And then somebody shows like two winning trades, right? And that they made a ton of money on, but they don't show the 80 trades that they lost money on, right? But you could have Claude say, you just tell Claude with the MCP, like, hey, I want to get the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average, and show me what would happen if I bought every time the 50 crossed over the 200 and sold every time the 50 crossed under the 200, you know, and you would see like over the last, you could tell Claude too how far back in time you want to go, because obviously the further back in time you go, the longer it's going to take because it's got to download more data. But if you say like maybe the last 3 months or the last 6 months, you could say, oh yeah, okay, I can see where that person won those two trades, right? It was very clear on the chart or in that test. But then I see like 78% of their other trades were losers. And if you trade this strategy overall this last 6 months, your account would have been down like 35% or something like that, right? So that's a good thing to try to test out with Claude, is just a very simple strategy like that where you could try to validate somebody else's idea.
Will I break Claude or break MCP if I tell it like that moving average crossover criteria and then compare it with all like markets in the last 3 months? Is
Oh,
that
I
too much
see.
data?
Are you talking about like all the assets on
Yeah.
Paradex?
So
Yeah.
I can see
So
which one actually kind of worked with the moving average
with that
crossover
strategy,
strategy.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a good idea because you could use this kind of as a way to filter out like, okay, out of all the assets on that are tradable, like what would this have actually worked on over the last 6 months? So it might take a while, but it would be doable. So you might want to, you could probably do it kind of, this is what I would do if I were you and I wanted to test this out. So I'd start with just one, like just start with Bitcoin, see how long it takes to do, right? Then say, okay, take the top 5 assets by volume today, do that, see how long that takes to run. If it's not too bad, just keep adding more to that list
Makes
until it's
sense.
just taking so long that it's not going to be doable, or it comes back and it's like you're hitting the rate limits set by Paradex for their MCP.
Makes
And
sense. We don't want
yeah,
people thinking it doesn't work.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
So
okay. That's
yeah,
great.
but yeah, because it's going to take, not only is it going to take time to download the data from the servers, because those calls take a bit of time, but it's also going to take a bit of time for Claude to crunch those numbers once it does have the data, right? So there's kind of two things going on there when it is going to be kind of going through that process. And then the kind of the third thing too that I've noticed that takes a while sometimes is it takes a while to actually generate the results user interface once it's kind of done with its
Oh,
processing.
right, right.
So those are kind of things to keep in mind if you're going to go kind of like hog wild with the data. But I love that idea because like this is the exact thing that AI is like awesome at. You got a nice idea, like, and testing this on your own is going to be would have been extremely hard otherwise, but having AI help you do it is going to make it within reach, right? And that's the awesome thing about AI, right? Is like you have these ideas in your head and you want to try to see what would happen if you
Yeah,
actually implemented them. So
awesome. All right. Can't wait to try that.